The rain on outpost Helios never stopped. It hammered against metal walls day and night, turning the mining colony into a world of mud, smoke, and exhaustion. Commander Varek stood on the northern defense wall staring into the storm. Beyond the dark hills, thousands of Drax warriors waited for another attack. 3 weeks earlier, Helios Station had housed nearly 1,500 Coalition soldiers. Now barely 180 remained fit to fight.
If you are enjoying this story, please subscribe and support the channel. It honestly takes a whole day to create a single video like this. And without your support, continuing this journey becomes really difficult.
The Drax had pushed them back, sector by sector, destroying artillery positions, cutting supply routes, and forcing the defenders into a shrinking ring around the colony reactor. Every day, the enemy came closer. Every day, more soldiers died. "Commander, we lost contact with Bunker 6. The voice came from Lieutenant Ceres, his young communications officer. Varek closed his eyes for one brief moment. Another bunker gone, another squad dead. How much ammunition remains? Ceres checked the numbers on his display. Less than 20%, sir. Heavy weapons almost empty. Varek looked across the command center. Tired faces stared back at him. Coalition soldiers from 6 different species sat wounded, exhausted, and hopeless. They all knew the truth. The colony would not survive another week. The Drax wanted Helios because of the rare fuel buried beneath the mountains. They had already destroyed 3 nearby systems to claim it. Helios was next. Varek walked slowly toward the communications console. "Send a distress signal to Coalition Command." Ceres hesitated. "Sir, the nearest fleet is 12 days away. I know. They cannot reach us in time. I know that too." Varek's voice became quieter. "Send it anyway." The message traveled across Coalition space. "Emergency request. Helios Station under siege. Heavy casualties. Immediate reinforcements required. Any available force accepted. Even a single platoon could help." The message passed through dozens of systems. Most commanders ignored it. Some marked it as unfortunate. Others considered the colony already lost. But on Earth, the transmission reached a military carrier orbiting above Mars. Colonel Daniel Reyes read the message twice, then a third time. He leaned back in silence while officers around him waited. Reyes had spent 20 years in military service. He recognized desperation when he saw it. Major Elena Brooks stepped beside him. "Sir, are we responding?" Reyes looked at the tactical map. Helios sat near the outer coalition border, only 3 jumps from human territory. Earth had joined the coalition less than a year earlier. Most alien governments still viewed humanity with uncertainty. This would be the first major human deployment beyond Allied space. How many defenders remain? Approximately 180. And the enemy estimated 7,000 Drax. Several officers exchanged looks. Those numbers meant disaster. Reyes stood. "Prepare 4th Battalion for immediate deployment." Brooks blinked. "The entire battalion, sir." "Yes, that is 800 soldiers." Reyes nodded calmly. "They asked for help. We are going." Within hours, alarms sounded throughout the carrier. Resolute dawn, human soldiers rushed through loading bays, carrying weapons, armor, ammunition crates, and medical supplies. Dropships fueled for launch. Combat engineers loaded defensive equipment. Artillery crews secured heavy cannons inside transport racks. No one complained. No one questioned the order. Captain Marcus Hale inspected Alpha Company, while rain hammered against the carrier hull. "All squads loaded, yes, sir. Drone teams ready. Mortars loaded. Medical units standing by." Hale smiled slightly. "Good. Nearby. Sergeant Liam Torres checked ammunition pallets, while Private Noah Reed followed close behind. Reed was young, nervous, and preparing for his first real combat deployment. "Sergeant, are the stories true?" "Which stories?" "That the Dracs never stop attacking." Torres secured another crate. "Then we make sure we do not stop shooting." 4 hours later, the Resolute Dawn entered. Faster than light travel, deep inside the ship, Reyes studied battlefield reports from Helios' collapsed walls, destroyed supply depots, continuous enemy assaults. The colony was dying. But not yet. Reyes looked toward the stars outside the observation deck. "Hold on a little longer." 4 days later, alarms echoed across Helios Station. Commander Varek rushed into the command center as operators shouted over each other. "Unknown vessel entering orbit. Size estimate, enormous. Multiple escort craft detected." Varek felt cold fear grip his chest. The Dracs had finally brought reinforcements. Battle stations. The main screen activated, showing a massive grey warship emerging through the clouds above the planet. Its design looked different from Coalition ships. "Angular heavy, built for war, Commander. The ship is transmitting Coalition identification." Varek stared at Ceres. "What?" "They claim to be human forces from Earth." Silence filled the room. Humans! Varek had heard rumors about humanity. Aggressive, persistent, dangerous. No one seemed certain how many soldiers. Ceres checked incoming scans. Then checked again. His eyes widened. "Commander, there must be an error." "What kind of error?" "The scans show over 800 combat personnel." Varek turned sharply. 800? "Yes, sir. That is not reinforcements. That is an army." Dropships immediately began descending through the storm. One after another, they landed outside the colony walls. Massive ramps lowered before engines fully powered down. Human soldiers poured out in organized formations. Armored vehicles followed close behind. Mobile artillery platforms rolled across the mud. Combat drones rose into the air, scanning the surrounding hills. Within minutes, the humans established a defensive perimeter, stronger than anything the Coalition had built in 3 weeks. Varek walked outside, unable to believe what he was seeing. A tall human officer approached him through the rain. His uniform carried markings Varek did not recognize. The officer stopped and saluted. "Commander Varek, Colonel Daniel Reyes, 4th Battalion, United Earth Forces." Varek struggled to find words. "You actually came." Reyes glanced toward the damaged walls. "Looks like you could use the help. We asked for a platoon. You got a battalion." Behind them, human engineers unloaded steel barriers, automated turrets, and ammunition crates, faster than Coalition crews could count them. Captain Hale approached Reyes' eastern wall. "Heavily damaged, sir. Recommend immediate fortification." "Do it." Hale turned toward his soldiers. "Alpha Company, move! Humans immediately! Spread across the colony. Some reinforced trenches. Others deployed heavy weapons. Medical teams entered wounded shelters, treating Coalition soldiers without hesitation. Private Reed carried supplies beside Sergeant Torres, while alien defenders watched in disbelief. "They move fast," one Coalition soldier whispered. Torres overheard him. "We train fast, too." By nightfall, the humans had transformed Helios Station. New firing lines covered every approach. Minefields stretched across open ground. Artillery batteries hid behind reinforced positions. Drone operators mapped enemy movement for kilometers. Commander Varek stood beside Reyes, watching soldiers work under floodlights. "I do not understand. This is not your war." Reyes folded his arms. Now it is the Drax will attack harder after seeing your arrival. Good Varek looked at him carefully. You sound confident. Reyes finally smiled. Commander, the Drax spent years fighting species that retreat when casualties rise. He pointed toward the busy human defenses. We came prepared to stay. Far beyond the wars, Drax scouts observed everything. From the hills they counted vehicles, tracked troop movement, recorded artillery positions. Then they sent reports to their warlord. Warlord Craven listened in silence. 800 humans. Yes, Warlord Craven laughed. Then 800 more enemies will die. He stood from his throne. Prepare the assault. Thousands of Drax warriors began moving through the darkness toward Helios Station. Inside the colony, human soldiers loaded rifles, checked ammunition, and prepared for battle. Sergeant Torres looked at Private Reed while thunder rolled overhead. Nervous. Yes, Sergeant. Good fear keeps you alive. Outside the walls, the storm grew heavier. Inside the defenses, human soldiers waited calmly beside alien allies who no longer looked hopeless. Tomorrow, the Drax would attack. Tomorrow, they would discover humanity fought very differently. Dawn arrived beneath black storm clouds as warning sirens screamed across Helios Station. Captain Marcus Hale stood behind the eastern barricades, watching hundreds of red signals appear on his tactical screen. The Drax were coming in full force. Large enemy transports moved through the valley, while thousands of warriors advanced behind armored walkers. Coalition soldiers along the wall looked terrified. Commander Varek felt his chest tighten as the ground began to shake beneath the enemy. Advance Colonel Reyes calmly raised his binoculars and studied the battlefield. How many? Major Brooks checked incoming drone feeds. At least 9,000 confirmed, with more behind them. Several Coalition officers froze after hearing the number. 9,000 Drax warriors had destroyed entire cities before. Varek looked toward Reyes, expecting fear or hesitation. Instead, the human commander picked up his radio. All units stand by. Hold fire until marked range. The human soldiers moved with calm discipline. Machine gun teams locked weapons into place. Artillery crews loaded shells. Drone operators tracked enemy formations from above. Combat medics prepared stretchers and emergency kits before the battle even started. Private Noah Reed gripped his rifle tightly, while Sergeant Torres checked the firing line beside him. First battle kit. Reed nodded slowly. Torres adjusted the young soldier's shoulder armor. Remember your training and trust the soldier beside you. That is how you survive. The Drax moved closer, roaring battle cries across the valley. Their warlord Craven marched near the center, surrounded by elite guards wearing black armor covered in scars from previous wars. He looked toward the colony walls and smiled. The Coalition defenders still stood in open positions, exactly where he expected them. Weak, frightened prey, waiting to die. Then Craven noticed something strange. The humans were not shouting. They were not panicking. They simply waited. Colonel Reyes lowered his binoculars. Range 1,200 meters. Fire! The entire eastern wall exploded with gunfire. Human rifles cracked through the valley with terrifying precision. Drax warriors fell instantly before many even realized the battle had started. Machine guns opened fire, cutting long lines through the advancing enemy ranks. Craven stared in disbelief as hundreds of warriors collapsed within seconds. Coalition weapons had never reached this distance before. The humans were killing targets far beyond normal combat range. "Artillery ready," Lieutenant Harper called over the radio. Reyes answered immediately. "Fire mission, East Valley, full battery." Moments later, heavy cannons thundered behind the colony walls. Shells screamed through the storm clouds before crashing directly into the center of the Drax assault. Massive explosions ripped apart entire formations. Mud, smoke, and shattered armor flew into the air. The ground itself seemed to erupt beneath the enemy army. Coalition soldiers watched in shock. They had never seen defensive artillery used this effectively. The Drax tried pushing forward, but the humans controlled every angle of the battlefield. Minefields detonated beneath advancing warriors. Hidden turrets opened fire from reinforced bunkers. Combat drones marked targets for artillery strikes with deadly accuracy. Captain Hale moved through the trenches shouting orders, while bullets slammed into the barricades around him. Shift second squad left. Keep pressure on their flank. Do not let them regroup. His soldiers answered instantly. Every movement looked practiced. Every response immediate. Commander Varek fought beside the humans near the central wall and quickly realized something important. Human soldiers never fought alone. Whenever one position weakened, another squad moved to support it. Whenever ammunition ran low, supply runners appeared with fresh crates already prepared. Everything happened before disaster could strike. The humans planned for problems before the problems existed. Private Reed fired controlled bursts into charging Drax warriors, while Sergeant Torres watched carefully steady short bursts save ammunition. Reed followed every instruction exactly as trained. Despite the chaos around him, the young soldier never lost control. Nearby Coalition defenders began copying the human firing patterns. Slow, accurate, disciplined, the battle continued for hours. Wave after wave of Drax warriors crashed against the colony defenses. Each attack ended the same way: gunfire, explosions, retreat. By midday, thousands of enemy bodies covered the valley floor, but the Drax refused to stop. Warlord Craven screamed, furious orders from the rear lines demanding another full assault. He could not understand what was happening. No coalition force had ever resisted this long. No defenders had ever inflicted such losses. Then the humans launched their counterattack, under cover of artillery fire. Sergeant Torres led 20 soldiers through hidden tunnels beneath the outer defenses. They emerged behind enemy lines near a Drax command position, hidden among the rocks. Night vision goggles turned the battlefield bright green inside their helmets. Move, move, move. The human squad advanced silently through smoke and darkness. Drax guards never saw them coming. Suppressed rifles eliminated the outer sentries within seconds. Torres planted explosives across the command station, while Private Reed covered the entrance with shaking hands. Enemy reinforcements appeared moments later. Reed opened fire exactly like he had practiced during training. Controlled bursts, center mass reload, repeat. The young soldier dropped enemy after enemy, while Torres activated the charge's fallback. The humans sprinted toward extraction positions as explosions ripped through the Drax command center. Fire consumed communication equipment, vehicles, and ammunition stores. The shockwave rolled across the battlefield. Far away, Colonel Reyes saw the explosion and smiled slightly. Perfect timing. Without leadership, the Drax assault collapsed into confusion. Some units retreated. Others charged blindly into minefields and artillery fire. Human forces immediately exploited the chaos. Captain Hale ordered a full defensive push, driving enemy survivors back across the valley. By sunset, the battle was over. Thousands of Drax warriors fled into the mountains, abandoning equipment, weapons, and wounded soldiers behind them. The valley outside Helios Station had become a graveyard. Commander Varek stood silently beside Colonel Reyes, staring across the battlefield. "How many human casualties, Major Brooks?" checked the reports. 27 killed, 74 wounded. Varek looked stunned. The Drax had attacked with nearly 10,000 warriors, and the humans had held the line. Warlord Craven had lost over 4,000 soldiers in a single day. For the first time in decades, the Drax army retreated from a battlefield completely defeated. Varek slowly turned toward Reyes. "You changed the war today." Reyes shook his head. "No, Commander. We simply fought it properly." 3 days later, Drax ships withdrew from the entire Helios sector. 1 week later, peace negotiations began between the Coalition and the Drax Empire. Across the galaxy, military leaders studied the Battle of Helios in disbelief. One human battalion had succeeded where entire fleets had failed. Not because humans were stronger, but because they trained harder, planned better, and refused to abandon allies who called for help. Before departing the colony, Colonel Reyes walked through the rebuilt defenses. One final time, Coalition soldiers saluted as human transports prepared for launch. Commander Varek stopped beside the human officer near the landing zone. "When we sent that distress call, we expected to die here." Reyes looked toward the busy colony walls, now covered with both Coalition and human flags. "Good thing we answered then." The transport engines ignited. Human soldiers boarded their ships, while workers inside the colony began constructing a monument from broken battlefield stone. The inscription carried only a single sentence. They asked for reinforcements. Humanity sent victory.